We're live. All right. Well, we're partially live. We are live everywhere but the Facebook group, as is the new norm. Hello, Moni. I don't know why I said your name strange like that. Hopefully, you got your snack in time. You're like just enough time to get a snack, and then boom, I start. That's how it goes, right? All right. And we're live in the Facebook group. I'm going to message Jill and tell her I'm live. All right. So yeah, sorry I'm late, everyone. I know, right? You're like, wasn't expecting a July 4th lunch with Mel anyway. And then Jill said it was going to happen. And then I was late. I mean, what gives? And mostly I was just completely space cadetting. I was actually working on some covers for some clients. Because that's something that we do. And it kind of I did that, and then I was in La La Land after doing that. One's for a client's prequel novella, and I just quickly put something together. I oftentimes outsource cover design to a couple of different designers that we use, but I'm also like relatively competent at making covers myself. So I did those ones, or that one for the client. Because it's like a prequel novella reader magnet deal that's going to be on BookFunnel, so it's not really necessary for it to have like a pristine cover. But I actually think for something I whipped up in an hour, it looks really good. Because all it really needs to do is it needs to have like a semi-silhouetted character on a particular type of background. So, and I was able to use a lot of the other effects and coloring and stuff like that from previous covers. Because whenever we get covers done, we always get the fully layered PSDs. That's actually something I might chat about a little bit here. Let's see. Jill did not see my live comment. So, oh, she did. Are you going to do the everyone, honey? Just curious. Or if I should do the everyone. I'm glad it showed up for you in the group. Awesome. 4th of July. So if you're an American, obviously 4th of July is probably a day off. If you're not an American, then it's probably not a day off. I know Canada Day was July 1st. And I forget what how the Brits celebrate for like if they even have a national holiday. I don't even know if the Australians celebrate. And of course, there's other countries people live in. I know very few of the national holiday, like the independence, birth of our nation kind of holidays. Like in the Brits, do you guys celebrate like the Norman invasion of 1066 or something? I know you don't. I'm just being silly. But yeah, that's my shtick, and I'm sticking to it. Anyway, yeah, it's from a marketing perspective. I talked last week about like what to do with your ads if they're still working, or not still working. I shouldn't say like you're one of the lucky few. Just ads either don't work from the get-go. Actually, you know what? That was going to become a much more complicated statement than I meant it to be. Basically, if your ads are working well, leave them alone over the holiday. If they're not working, maybe turn them off or decrease your spend. But generally speaking, retooling ads and spinning up new ads over a holiday weekend is not ideal. So that's generally something I don't recommend doing. So, but anyway, yeah, if you're here, say hi. I always love that. We've got, I can see only about on the various places I stream to, only about 6 or 7 people are in right now. Usually we get up into like the 30 or 40 live viewer range. So I might give it just a little bit more time. Hey, Monique, you made it back. I'm sorry. I started like a minute after you said you were going to get a snack. Monique's one of our YouTube viewers. Hooray. Actually, might be the only YouTube viewer right now. But yeah, there's been some interesting developments in Facebook land. I watch a lot of Happy 4th to you, Rosa, as well. I watch a lot of other people who do Facebook ads. Like there's a lot of different ad agencies and whatnot who have YouTube channels about running Facebook ads, and they run them differently than authors do much of the time, because very few of these other types of advertisers run traffic ads, right? If they're running ads, they're running ads to some sort of direct conversion thing that they can monitor and measure. Like they're running it to a Shopify website to try and get a sale, or they're running it to a lead generation form to try to get information from a person to then put them into a sales funnel. most agencies are running ads that where they can fully track and measure the result. Whereas with authors, most authors are running traffic ads, or we're just flinging users at Amazon in the hopes that they're going to buy something with no reporting back from Amazon as to whether or not any such buying happened. Side note, it would be almost trivial for Amazon to actually do this for us, to send back to Facebook the data about it working. Not quite trivial, but almost trivial. Um, like it kind of irks me because they could totally do it. But anyway, so most of what these other people that talk about, like the various and sundry gurus outside of the author community, talk about with ads, doesn't really apply to authors because they never run traffic ads. But there are still some learnings that I can kind of pick up from them. One of them is that like nobody knows what Facebook's doing right now. I'll like listen to one person who says something and they're like showing screenshots of how it's working for them. And I'm like, yeah, that's clearly how it's working for you. I can absolutely see that. I can see that these options are there and these options aren't there right now and all sorts of things. And they'll be like, therefore, it's like this. And then another person will have a video and they'll show an entirely different set of things. They'll show scenarios that don't align at all with the previous video. And they're like, well, therefore it's like this. I'm like, wow, yeah, we are unfortunately in the midst of Facebook trying a bunch of shit. And it makes it a little bit hard to speak definitively about what's going on. But I think one of the things that I think is really important, and I've talked about this a few times in some of my courses, but it's not something I focused on heavily in the past. I'm going to put up a video about it in the group in the next couple of days, because I was just going through some videos I'd recorded a couple of years ago, editing up. So I was pulling out some chunks so I could use them in some courses that Jill and I are making, because we're working on taking, like, I've probably produced like hundreds of hours of video in the last 3 or 4 years on a variety of topics. And some of it expires, like Facebook ads, but some of it doesn't expire. Like stuff about making covers and release strategies and blurbs and all sorts of things like that don't expire, at least not in that time frame. And I came across this talk I gave about our motivations and mindset, and also understanding who we're marketing to. I was like, wow, this is really good. Kind of proud of myself that I said all that. And the one point that I think is really worth remembering at all times is that we are marketing to humans. We're marketing to people. And I think authors are pretty good at remembering that, because we talk with our readers a lot. You know, we think about our readers, we communicate with our readers, they email us, we email them, they're in our groups, they're in our Discords, they're in our TikTok comments, whatever. We tend to have a pretty good relationship with our readers and whatnot. But sometimes when we're advertising and we're making content, we think too much about the algorithm, which is to say, you know, is the content I'm making something that's going to become picked up by the algorithm and shown to more and more people? And we're trying to think about how to please the algorithm. But what we forget is that the algorithms are based entirely, what they do is they respond to what humans do, right? So if your content, now they get weighted certain ways, believe me, like algorithms will prefer certain types of content based on the business objectives of the company running the social media platform or whatever. But at the same time, you know, if your content that you've made appeals to very few humans, then the algorithm is not going to boost it. So really, no matter what changes with TikTok, with Facebook, with Instagram, what have you, in how they promote things and what they show where and stuff like that, we have to maintain a really strong vision of the people that we're trying to show our book to, what they like and what they're going to respond to on an emotional level. We market to humans. At the end of the day, if no human wants to click on our ad and then buy our book on the following page, then we're not going to sell anything. So it really matters that we think about our ideal buyer as we're making our ads, as we're doing our promotions and marketing. And that's the best way to weather changes that happen in the technology that sits between us and those humans that we're trying to reach, because that technology will always change. It'll always shift in how it promotes or prefers different things and whatnot. But if we really stay focused on the fact that we are trying to make an emotional connection to a given human being sitting in front of their computer or on their phone. If we keep that in mind, we stand a much better chance of having creating ads and creating content that's gonna stand the test of time. So I got Rosa will comment here in the group. My ads are doing fairly well right now, especially in the last 2 weeks. Not huge profit, but profit. Applying the skills I've learned working with the writing lives and careful experimenting with more audiences. That is awesome, Rosa. I'm really glad to hear that. One of the things I think that it'd also be good to experiment with is taglines, or in the TikTok community, they're known as hooks. Um, and the taglines, the way you use taglines generally in a Facebook ad is if you're making a video, then you would use it probably as the first piece of text on the video, but also in your headlines. So trying out different taglines with your headlines is a really good idea. And then also trying them on your image is a really good idea too. Making your image look as meme-like as possible while still conveying that it's for a book, etc., is definitely a good way to go. But I'm really glad that you be able to take what you've learned and are have profitable ads, especially towards the end of June. Towards the end of June is definitely one of the low points of the year for sales and reads, and most of that has to do with the fact. I mean, it depends a bit on your age group that you're marketing to. I think if you're marketing to people probably like 25 to 35, you probably wouldn't have a huge change in like what's happening for you at this time of year. But if you're advertising to younger people, well, their lives change drastically. They're going off to camp, they're getting ready for school, they're getting summer jobs. Their lives are very much in flux at this time of year. And then for older people, the same thing's true because suddenly their kids aren't in school and they have to worry that maybe they're working from home, maybe they're taking family vacation, maybe the main readers, which are the grandparents, maybe if your main readers are grandparents, that then they are busy now watching kids in lieu of other options, and they're not available. So things tend to steady out pretty much like after this weekend, um, maybe the week after. It kind of depends on how summer camps line up. And I haven't done a lot of research into exactly where things are starting this year, but usually the weekend after July 4th is where a lot of summer events start, and then there's options for kids. Um, so that makes things stabilize a bit. And things tend to be fairly stable until about the third week of August when we have another big upset that happens again. The one thing to keep in mind is that the KU rate tends to be lower in July and August. And that's usually because a lot of people are reading. And so the rate goes down. So if you have activities that you can do that are more prone to drive sales than reads, then that is a good option for you to think about for the summer. If you've been thinking about a Kickstarter and you've got like a bunch of stuff put together and you weren't sure when to start it, August might be a good time to run your Kickstarter. Or you weather August and you say like, I've got a plan for September because it's like I need something that's leading into spooky season, or something like that. Then just keep in mind you might need to weather a bit of a lower KU rate through July and August. I can't say for sure that we'll have a lower KU rate, but for the last couple of years, the KU rate has been lower in July and August. Judy says the ad she created during the five-day challenge are doing really well. So I'm not sure if it's one ad or if it's two ads or more ads, but either way, I am glad that they're doing well. That's really awesome. Oh, that's great, Rosa. I am really glad to hear that. So Rosa says women's fiction made audiences over 50, read through is really rocket. So that is fabulous to hear. Women's fiction, I tell you, if you want to advertise to women, if you want to write something for women these days, women's fiction with like a hint of thriller or a hint of romance, but if the main A plot is women's fiction, or even if women's fiction is a super strong B plot in your story, they do so well. I mean, it's really, in many regards, women's fiction is a close cousin of the cozy mystery, right? It's for people who want to read about older protagonists who are in a different phase of their lives. Sometimes we want to read about the young kids who will go to save the world because let's face it, right? Like it all hurts too much in the morning for us to go save the world once you get a little bit older. You're like, you know what? I'm not sleeping on the ground. If I have to fight monsters one day, I'm not even walking the next day, that kind of thing. So yeah, that's a young person's gig. But we want to read about that sometimes, but also other times we want to read about people who are a little bit older, a little bit more measured in certain ways, have different cares and concerns in their lives that align with ours. And I think that because we have an aging population right now, you know, boomers are, I think millennials are a larger popular group now than boomers. I think millennials outnumber boomers by a little bit. Gen X is the smallest current generation. I think Gen Z, which are kids born after 2000 up until COVID, Gen Z are also bigger than Gen X. So as Gen Xers, we're all up over, goodness, depending on exactly where you make the cutoff, like we're all over 40, and the oldest millennials are over 40 now too. So they're moving. The millennials are even now moving into that phase of their lives where their kids are getting older. They got a little more time on their hands. They're starting to think about retirement and stability, and less about adventure and new things, and more about, you're a boomer, Monique. I would not have guessed you were a boomer. Like, not even close. Wow. Um, because I guess the youngest boomers are still what, 59, 60. So I guess that's a really interesting thing. Like, I found, like, people in their, and some of this might just be, I don't know, 60s child. All right, I like that. Um, where was I going with all of this? Brain, come back to me. This is like a total segue, but I was just thinking, like, people in their 40s now look like people in their 30s did when I was younger. And I kind of wonder if it's just because we spend more time inside and we have more sunblock. Okay. So you're a smidge older. I'm 47. I'm grappling with the fact that in 2.5 years I'm going to be 50. I'm not emotionally prepared for that, but I'm going to rock 50. I'm going to kill it in my 50s. I'm going to have a blast. Um, and I have to admit, the kinds of stories that appeal to me now are not the kinds of stories that appealed to me when I was younger. It's so true. Like, I watch. That's awesome, Judy. I love it that people that like, we're able to use writing as like this career when we get a lot older. I have a lot of clients who are in their 60s and 70s, and they're just loving writing. Some of them need to for the money, some of them don't. But the fact that we have this option, right, where we can write books and make money and be our own bosses, and not sort of just be reliant on, not be entirely reliant on, whatever savings we manage to scrape together for our lives. It depends on, depending on where you live, that could be pretty hard. So I'm super stoked. I love seeing people that are up over 60, up over 70. I think we have one client that's over 80, if I remember correctly. It's super awesome. It's like one of my favorite things to see. 71. Yeah, you guys rock. I have nothing against boomers, by the way. I'm not one of those people that's anti-baby boomer. My parents are boomers, and I love my parents, and they're fabulous people. That's awesome, Monique. I have a couple of clients that are digital nomads. That I don't know if you mean you're a digital nomad, but you're just taking advantage of traveling. But I've got Fiona Quinn, who, I run her ads for her. You might have read her stuff. She writes like action adventure with a hint of women's fiction and a dash of romance. Um, she goes everywhere. She goes to the places she writes her books about to see if her books will actually fit in with the people. And it was really interesting when she went to Morocco. I was talking with her while she was there because we had a call, and she's like, "Yeah, the book I was planning on writing won't work here because she writes books. So half of her books are about dogs. Yeah, so she calls them the dog books because of the romances where you put a dog on the cover as well, and it's some sort of canine military unit, type of deal, which is typically, what those happen to be in the action adventure realm. And there are no dogs in Morocco. Well, they're not in Morocco, in the city. I can't remember which of the two cities, if it was Marrakesh or the other one. It's called the Red City. Or is that the same city? Anyway, she went to two cities, and cats are a huge thing there, but dogs are not. She's like, "Well, I can't put a dog book here because it's just not going to work." Oh, I thought you were in the UK, or you were, at least the last time I remember you mentioning where you were. I saw this really funny map today, by the way, Monique. It was like someone. It was. I mean, the content wasn't so funny, but it was showing basically the contested lands in Ukraine where Russia's invaded and whatnot. And for whatever reason, Russia was labeled as Poland. So there was Poland over here, and then there was the space where Belarus is, and then there was Russia over here. My comment was, but what about second Poland? Conference in the UK. All right, that makes sense. That makes sense. Hey, honey, you have a unipart? Is that a narwhal? Oh, the narwhal is for Dana. I got it. That makes sense. Dana in the group loves the narwhal. So the unicorn of Wales. Apparently, Dana, if you go to a town called Pang on Baffin Island, it's one of the few places in the world where you can go fishing with the locals and see narwhals swimming past. Do it under the midnight sun as well. It's kind of a whole deal up there. And then if you go inland, you can see Mount Thor, which has the tallest vertical drop in the world, which I'm always super. It's like a total bucket list thing. I want to see Mount Asgard and Mount Thor. I also love the fact that the natives up there on Baffin Island, which is right next to Greenland, and by right next to, I mean across a rather large piece of stretch of water. But anyway, they use their non-native names for everything because they get more tourists. And they're just like, yeah, show us the tourist money. They're like, we'll call it Mount Thor all you want if you'll come up here to see it for the, because that's what it's named. But anyway, something that was really interesting that's come about. Hey, we actually got a good number of people here now. We got like 20 across all the different places. Not bad for July 4th. I wasn't sure if anyone would make it. But yeah, so I was talking earlier about how I watch a lot of YouTube content from people who run ad agencies. And one of the things that they mentioned is something that my team and I have been kind of like grappling with for a bit to try and figure out. And well, actually, they didn't really mention this directly, but I could see it in how they were dealing with things. Is that Facebook ad accounts seem to eventually make audience decisions automatically. Like you'll take a certain ad account and you'll run an ad for a certain book, and it will be, say, 27 cents per click, just unreasonably high. And it seems that it happens a lot on a given ad account. And it might not happen on another ad account. Now, sometimes it will just based on the targeting, but sometimes it won't. But there does seem to be like some sort of memory across a Facebook account. And people have been talking about this a lot. And there's talk about even spinning up new ad accounts, which you can do. You can go to the business manager and spin up new ad accounts so that you can have like an ad account that has forgotten or is not polluted by another ad account. And there's people like always constantly trying to figure out, like, if I'm advertising nonfiction and fiction under the same ad account, am I causing problems? And the jury's kind of still out on that. But what people are really leaning towards now is that if you have a campaign and you make a bunch of ad sets inside of a campaign, Facebook does seem to eventually kind of hone the audience across all ad sets in that campaign. Now, what does that mean practically? What kind of means practically is if you have a couple of ads running in a campaign and they kind of stop working, like you're getting lots of clicks, but you're not getting a lot of conversions. And usually what that means is that it's the wrong audience. The ad's kind of appealing to them, but they're not buyers, or they're not your key buyers or something like that. And you make a new ad set, same thing happens. Clicks are okay, getting a lot of them, but you're not getting conversions. You're going to need to make a new campaign, because it looks like what's happening, the way they're learning now, is that campaign, there's been some sort of audience learning that's being applied to every ad set created within that campaign. And that likewise, if you want to have an ad that's working and you might want to try and branch that ad out and get it to reach more people, it used to be that you would duplicate the ad set inside the campaign, and then roll it from there. But what's kind of being learned now, and what I'm seeing a lot of people saying, is like, no, you have to make a brand new campaign and then recreate that ad set by hand. Like, you can't duplicate it all. So if you want to like try and find new people for that ad set, make a new campaign and make it from scratch, and then maybe make some audience tweaks, and then you'll find new people. If you try to do it within the same campaign, it might not work. And chances are it seems like it won't work in a lot of cases. Now, it depends on your spend. If you're only spending $5 a day, probably can still find new people inside that campaign. But if you're scaling up and you're like $50, $60, $100 a day on a couple of different ad sets within a campaign, and you want to find new humans, you're probably going to need to spin up a new campaign to find those new humans. So it's a really sort of a fundamental change in how Facebook is doing things behind the scenes. And whether or not they even intended to do this, or it's an unexpected consequence of some other change they've made, it's hard to say. Um, but yeah, that does seem to be a difference, and it seems to sort of like it dovetails with some things that myself and my team have been struggling with as we've been trying to figure out, like, how do we take ads that refuse to scale and get them to scale. And it seems to be we're still doing our own testing on this to see if this does work for us. But it seems to be let's make a new campaign. And the reason why we have to sort of test for ourselves is all of these people on YouTube that have these channels talking about what they're doing and their ad strategies and whatnot. They're None of them are running traffic ads. They're all running sales and lead ads or app ads, which most authors don't run. So we have to see, like, does this apply to traffic ads? Because whenever you choose traffic ads, you're fundamentally configuring the campaign in a different way than a sales ad. So different stuff applies. So no one's had any comments or thoughts. I mean, I was going through all that thinking, like, oh, looking for some more content to talk about. I come to these things with like usually one or two topics, and then I'm like, okay, folks, you better look me up with some questions, or we're not going to make it very long. I started late though, everyone. So I've actually only been at this for about 25 minutes now, because I didn't start till 12:20 because I zoned out. I was just sort of just blinking. That was like my primary activity. And then Jill comes in at like 12:05 and she's like, "Are you doing lunch with Mal today? Because I've been saying you're doing lunch with Mal today." And I'm like, "Oh shoot, I have to like put myself together and do this thing." Um, and then I hadn't like put any makeup on or anything. The remnants of yesterday's makeup were still on my face. And then I have an air conditioner in here that's like one of those like it's a freestanding one that you can kind of push around. It has a little water tank, and the water tank was full on that, so I had to empty it because it would be like 87 degrees in here today. I feel like maybe not 87, but it'd be hot. Maybe like 82, 83 if I didn't have the AC running. So does anyone have any questions or anything they've observed or anything they're curious about? Strategies for the summer, ways that you want to expand your readership, things you're thinking about, what you're doing with your backlist, any clever ideas of like how to leverage your backlist. Be interested in hearing about any of that. One of the things that kind of like caught Jill and I by not like I'm gonna say caught us by surprise, and more surprised at ourselves than anything else. Was that a client, not a client, someone who's in the 5-day ad challenge said that they realized that that's something they've been ignoring is marketing their backlist with Facebook ads. And Jill's like, you never actually mentioned that in the 5-day challenge, that's like one of the main things you should be doing with Facebook ads. And I'm like, you're right. It's something, sometimes there's things I just take for granted because for me, they become second nature and I forget to tell people, oh, by the way, also do this thing. So I'm really glad that person said that, because that is one of the most important things with Facebook ads. Facebook ads are rarely profitable without read through. So to get Facebook ads to work well, you generally need to advertise book one on a series that has enough books to get you good read through, which usually means a series in your backlist, not the series you're currently writing on. Very rarely does a new book in a series do well with ads. Even like the best put together ads I can run, usually you're going to get like a week, maybe 2 weeks before that ad fizzles out. But that long running ad for book one can keep cooking for months and months. Now there are exceptions. I'm going to use Fiona again. Her book Beowulf, we maintained for 11 weeks an orange tag on a book one in a brand new series for her, and I'm working on getting it back without spending an unreasonable amount of money. I think we're only around $100 a day on that book, and she's making 2 to 3 times that, so we're still okay. But yeah, so we were able to hold that book in the 1000s, and then it slid into the 2000s. It's brushing up against the 3000s, so it's getting hard. It's getting harder to get a number one spot in the categories. But I've been making some tweaks, and I'm hopeful I can kind of get it back into like maybe the low 2000s, and I should be able to reclaim a number one spot and get that orange tag back, because she really wants a book club for it. And so that's a rare case of being able to take a book and make at like a new book one, not in the backlist work, but I'm doing it through brute force, right? Like I'm spending a ton of money, and I've really spent a lot of time honing and tweaking the ads for that. And also, I mean, it's a book about a disabled vet with a dog, right? Like it's not a hard sell. and it's a retired dog too, which I think is just super sweet. Like the dog's like, it was a working dog. Now it's retired. The vet's retired, but they get pulled back in, and they have to do the thing. It's like it's got a plot line that people are dying to read. So it does really well as a result of that. But it's like I said, it's rare. Usually you have to advertise the backlist with Facebook ads. It's not your front list that you advertise for that. And to be honest, there are so many other ways to market your front list to your existing readers through swaps. You haven't promoted 1,000 times. So there's lots of places you can do it. There's so many places you can market front list books that don't work for backlist books because you've exhausted them already. That you should be doing those other things with your front list anyway. Oh, there's so many comments in here. All right, Lucy says, despite advice, I started an ad set Tuesday night. Will they sort themselves out despite the holiday? Probably. What time zone are you in? Because Tuesday night is like I would consider be on the cusp. But if you're West Coast United States, that might be pretty tight. If you're East Coast or you're UK or something like that, then you should be fine. Monique says, I'm stuck in a holding pattern until I can expand at least books in my back catalog. Do you mean like expand existing books or get up to 6 books? I'm curious what that means, Monique. She says, I spent most of the week rescuing a 30-year-old novel and a version of Word so old, I think it may even be in DOS, with a view to updating and possibly doing a Kickstarter with it. That's really cool, Judith. If you need any help getting that book, that document into a newer version of Word, let me know. I might be able to give you a hand with that. I'm a bit of a word whisperer. You can drop me an email at mallory@thewritinglives.com. I can put that in there just in case you don't. I think you have my email address, but oops. My fingers are not in the right spot on my keyboard. My cat died. I'm kind of leaned over all funny. My hands, obviously I'm a touch typer, and my hands were wonky and I wasn't able to find things. All right. So just in case you need my email address, Judith, if you're interested in need any help with that, I would be happy to help you. Rhoda says, I'm going to convert a set of standalone books from my original name to a new pen name because they're basically the same genre. Okay. That sounds pretty cool. I love you doing stuff like that with backlists, trying to breathe new life into it. Oh, I missed this question. Linda says, if I put an excerpt of my ad and it has swearing in it, should I consider replacing the cursing? Yes. Interestingly, Facebook is a lot more lenient about cursing than it used to be. Right now, actually, the hardest thing to get in is if your ad has anything political, even says like judge or something like that, chances are Facebook will reject your ads. Okay, Monique says expanding from 30K to 60K. I think I remember you saying that. That's going to be awesome when you do that, when you get those books plumped up. You're going to get some good jazz out of that. But regarding cursing, anything except for fuck, you can pretty much get away with now in an ad. But keep in mind that because Facebook's targeting is always going to break out of that initial targeting set you did. So if you do wide targeting, it's already out. And even if you put in a bunch of targets, it will eventually move beyond what you specified in an attempt to find more readers for you. It's going to show your ads to people who might be offended by that language, no matter how hard you try not to show it to them. So having cursing in your ad set, in your excerpt, makes it more likely that people are going to report your ad. And if Facebook gets enough reports on your ad, they'll turn it off. It'll just be listed as rejected for your content or for your ad creative, and they won't tell you why. But that's what happens. So if you ever have an ad that gets rejected right away, Facebook looked at it and said, nope, we can't do this. But if you have an ad that like ran for like 2 or 3 weeks and then suddenly Facebook says it's rejected, and you're like, what the hell, Facebook? It wasn't Facebook. It was people that didn't like your ad and reported it, and then Facebook shut it down. And those are usually the ones where you can request a review, and they might put it back up and they might not. But even if they put it back up, it could get shut down again if it gets reported a lot. So that's why, even though you can put a lot of cursing into your ads now, you should scrub as much out of it as possible. Rosa said, can you have too many smaller spend ads? Is it wiser to scale up than start more? depends on what you mean by small spend. I wouldn't fire up a whole lot of $5 a day ads. I would try to at least scale ads to $20 a day. But these days, ads can be a little flaky beyond $20. Some of them scale fine, some of them fall on their face. So a lot of times, like even us, we're like, we're running ads for clients. We're like, I'm kind of scared to bring this ad past $20 a day. I'm going to make another $20 a day ad and go that way. So, and I'm a believer too of like, don't put all your eggs in one basket. So you make this one killer ad at $100 a day, but what happens when it dies? Because it will eventually die. All ads die. So having a squad of ads all running at $10 to $20 a day gives you a lot more resiliency for when some of the ads start underperforming. So that's where I would go. Yeah, Lucy, since you said Eastern Standard, I think your ad you made Tuesday night should be okay. It should be well out of learning by now and ready to cook. So I wouldn't fret too much. If it does have a problem though, you'll know by the end of the weekend. It'll still have really high cost per clicks, or it won't be converting. So if you really see really abnormally low conversion or high CPC by end of day Sunday, then you probably need to just remake the ad Monday morning. Amanda says, what do you do if you have amazing days and then nothing the next? Is that just a Facebook fluke thing, but my people are buying my backlist? Are you still in KU or are you wide now, Amanda? Because that'll affect my answer to that. Actually, I'll give my answer both ways. So Amazon sales reporting is lumpy. It's how I always kind of refer to it. And it's way lumpier with sales than it is with KU reads. Sales just tend to be really spiky, and KU is generally pretty smooth. So if you see KU drop to, if you're like, let's say you get a book and you're getting 500 pages read a day, maybe 1,000, and it drops down from 1,000 to 500, or drops from 500 to 0 for a day and then comes back up. That's kind of within like what I would consider the normal fluctuations for an ad. But if you're running an ad and your KU reads on the ad, like in attribution, are showing 7,000 reads a day, and then the next day it goes to 0, that smells like just a reporting issue. But if by day 3 it's still down in the dumps, then I would say that Facebook has somehow screwed up your audience and is showing your ad to the wrong people now. But with KU, because there's so many people who borrow and then read a little bit later, they borrow now, they read in a week or something like that, KU ads rarely do that. So usually it's a reporting issue, and it corrects itself in a few days. But every now and then it does actually legitimately happen. Like you're getting a ton of reads and they just completely evaporate. And if by day 3 they're still completely evaporated, then I'm spinning up new ads. I don't really give it much longer than that. And if you're wide, sales reporting is within 3 days. Like with 3 days after the fact, all the sales are in, and generally they're same day. So if you're selling like 3 or 4 books a day off an ad, and then boom, it's 0 one day and 0 the next day, then you got an ad that sounds like it's starting to falter. And I would be rebuilding that ad too, probably. Or maybe I'll drop down the spend. Like say it's at $25 a day, I might drop the spend down to $10 a day to try and get Facebook to rebuild the audience internally. So again, it does depend on how much your spend is and whether you're KU or not. But if you're low spend, $5 to $10 a day, and and going to 0 means just dropping by 500 or 1,000 pages read a day, that can be totally normal. Because you have to remember, like for most books, 1,000 pages read is maybe 3 people reading. Because most of our books are around 300 to 500 KENP. So hopefully that's helpful. The $20 wall of death. Yeah, the $20 wall of death is legit. All right. But the issue isn't if I don't accurately reflect the language of a book, I may get the wrong readers. No. That's legit, Linda. So Linda's talking about putting curse words in your excerpt. Hopefully, like it kind of depends on what you're writing, right? Like if you're writing contemporary romance, and contemporary romance can exist with or without cursing, then maybe you should put it in there. Or maybe like hint that your book is, let's say, for example, your book is pretty spicy. Make sure you make it clear that the book is spicy, because then chances are people who are not into cursing will also not be into spice. But if you're writing a clean romance, clean small town, but your characters also swear, then yeah, maybe you should have them swear in your excerpt just a little bit. Like, don't get excessive, and maybe tuck it towards the end, um, so that you're less likely to just get reported. Well, maybe not toward the end, but keep it. Don't do it in the first couple paragraphs, because you don't want people who are just skimming and they see a swear word and get angry and report you. You know, you only really want it. You want it to be people who are like seriously considering your book to then be a deterrent for them. Let's put it that way. So, yeah. But also, like, if you're writing military science fiction, I don't know that you need to put the swears in the excerpt, because I feel like people are like they know Marines swear, and even if you don't have them swearing in your excerpt, they're not going to be shocked if the Marines swear in the story, you know, or not military science fiction, just regular military fiction. They're going to expect curses. Or you're writing like Motorcycle Club, like, you know, no one's going to be shocked when the bikers curse in the book. So you don't need to have it in your excerpt. So yes, if you do need to use it to signal, if you're in a genre that could go either way, then yeah, maybe you do put a little bit lower in your blurb for the signal. But just be aware of the fact that it could shorten the lifespan of your ads. You are very welcome. Okay, I thought you were white, Amanda. I had memories of that. When I say redo ad, it kind of depends. If it's something like maybe it's like creative I've tried a bunch of times, then I think it might be time for new creative. If it's a first run for that creative, or maybe just a second run, then I might just rebuild the ad from scratch in a new campaign, as it turns out now is the way to go, and then see if it performs, if it can kind of pick itself back up. But I might also be trying at the same time something entirely new as well. Like, I'll try rebuilding the existing one, see if I can make it work, but also at the same time I'm making a new one and trying that. Spicy contemporary. Yeah, so you would have to make it clear, Linda. Yeah, that you are writing something with curses. So just like not near the top, just for the people who are seriously invested. And you could also maybe use. You could also have your Amazon product page signal that in some way. Like maybe someone says shit or ass or something like that in the blurb, because then you're less likely to get penalized by Facebook, and you can still filter them out from buying your book and one-starring it because they don't like swearing. That'd be a way to think about that too. Oh man, I have talked a lot, and it's only 40 minutes in. Does anybody else have any other questions? I've enjoyed this. I've enjoyed going through this stuff today with you guys. Jill, are you still here? Can I talk about some of the new stuff we're planning, or are we keeping that under wraps still? I don't know. Well, I wait to see if she's here and answers. Yeah. Hey, look, Jill and I are in alignment. She says the same thing, that certain types of words can do that in the ad copy, but let the cover and Amazon product page do the heavy lifting. Agreed. Yeah. Make sure that they're very clear, because they should be clear regardless, right? Like your product page on Amazon, people are going to get there from places other than Facebook ads. So it too should be driving home that, like, hey, people say shit in this book, kind of thing. And you said spicy. So, and also I think if it's people who are going to read spicy romance are generally going to be less bothered by swearing as well. So that's another thing you can convey, that it's spicy. I'm guessing there's probably not a lot of people writing clean small town with cursing in it. it's like unnecessarily niching yourself in, I feel like. Hey, Crystal. Oh, hey. Okay, I'm going to go Rosa first. You're very welcome, Rosa. I'm glad you like it. I like doing this. I get a lot out of it too. I get a lot of energy. I'm an extrovert, right? So I get energized from doing this sort of thing. So trust me, I'm getting something out of it too. But I'm glad that you're appreciative of it. Crystal says, hello, what works better, ad set level budget or campaign budget? Neither one works better. They're specifically, they exist for different reasons. I'm not going to go quite yet, Linda. Not running off, but I'm getting ready to. I mean, we're leaving for the pool in an hour, so I probably will need to get changed at some point. But okay, regarding campaign budget optimization, imagine, because campaign budget optimization didn't used to exist. There was no budgetary settings on the campaign level. So imagine it's 2018, early 2018, and you're working for Apple, and you are managing 1,000 ads, and you have budget set in every single one of these ad sets, and your boss comes to you and he's like, hey, we have to cut budget by $7,000 this week. Do it. And you're like, shit. Now I've got to go through 1,000 ad sets and evaluate which ones are converting the best. Now, granted, if they're doing their jobs, they should probably know that. But like adjust this spend across some large number of ad sets, which is a giant pain in the butt. So basically, campaign budget optimization came about because people are like, dear God, Facebook, this is obnoxious. Why are you making me do this? Facebook's like, hey, set a max budget at the campaign level, and we'll like allocate spend based on what's doing the best. So it was created for that reason. But then, of course, what happens is, well, how does Facebook know how to allocate spend? Which ad set should it be spending the money on? And if you're running sales or lead ads, it's going to base it on which ads are converting the best at the lowest cost. So, and it knows that because, like, if you're sending people to Shopify or BookFunnel or your own web, like you're sending them to Apple.com and seeing if they bought themselves a new MacBook or something like that, or an iPhone, Apple communicates back with Facebook who did the thing, and then Facebook goes to find more people like them. And that's great if the conversion event that Facebook is looking at is the actual event, the end goal event that you want. But if you're running traffic ads, well, the goal of a traffic ad is just to get a click. Facebook neither knows nor cares whether or not anything happened after that click. So campaign budget optimization can optimize very poorly for traffic-based ads. So it does matter a bit what you're doing. So if you're running a sales ad, CBO can totally work for you. CBO being campaign budget optimization, setting your budget at the campaign level. But if you're running traffic ads, it does not work because it will optimize for clicks. And if you have like one ad that's twice as expensive to get a click, but converts 3 times better than this other ad, well, this ad is going to look worse to Facebook because it's twice as expensive to get the click. Facebook doesn't know it converts 3 times better. So it'll pull all its money into this ad. This ad will die and your sales will evaporate. So CBO is bad for traffic ads, but it is good for sales and lead ads. One thing that you sometimes have to do, though, with CBO ads is set your ad spend. I'm going to share my screen here. Set at least a minimum ad spend for each campaign. Because I'm sure if you've gone the non-dynamic route and you've made like an ad set, and you didn't choose dynamic creative and you made a bunch of ads inside that ad set, you'll discover that Facebook just doesn't show some of them. It's just like, nah, and goes about its merry way. So, I've got a draft campaign I can use here. Perfect. So you've noticed that sometimes it just doesn't show some of the ads at all. They get no action. Well, if you run campaign budget optimization, the same thing can happen to your ad sets. So there is a trick that you need to do to make it so that CBO works if you're doing direct sales ads or you're running lead ads for like a reader magnet or something like that. Some of which I've been doing lately have been working so well. It's been really amazing. All right, so by sharing my screen, yes, I'll embigger it so it's even easier to see, and we'll zoom a bit too. Let me see what that looks like. All right, I think that's good. All right, let me pop up to the campaign level here. I'm actually using the traffic campaign, which I recommend against, but it's the same in the end anyway. The options are all the same. So we turn on campaign budget optimization, and we give ourselves a budget, and of course our default is we're going for the most bids, highest volume of bids, which is the normal thing that you want. And there's a whole host of other options you can get in here, but we're not going to go into those right now. But once you've set CBO at the campaign level, and we go down to budget and schedule, we get ad spending limits is down here. It says none added, and it doesn't look like it's a link until you mouse over it. And you're like, what is this? What is this ad spending limits thing? And you click edit, and you get a checkbox, and then you can give it a daily minimum. So let's say I'm running a campaign with a daily budget. I mean, to be honest, if I'm doing a sale, let's pretend this is a sales campaign. I'm going to be spending $60 a day. I'm going to put 5 ad sets into it. That would be kind of what I would do, because I tend not to want to start sales ads at under $10 a day. Under $10 a day, they just don't work. You need to spend at least $10 a day on a direct sales ad. So I'm going to set my budget to 60. I'm going to have 5 ad sets in there. And then what I can do is I can go into, Oh, here it is. I didn't save it. I didn't actually put any numbers in, so it unchecked it. I can make it so each one of these spends at least $10 a day. And then that way I know that they're all going to get at least that much spend. And then I have this flexible extra $10, and that could go to any other ones. Now I could also say, I could go in here and be like, I want to actually allocate $100 a day across these 5 ads, or these 5 ad sets I'm going to make in here. And then what I could then say is, I don't want any of them to spend more than 20. I don't want something to chew up too much of the money, or maybe 25. And they do say here, by the way, that don't get too crazy with this shit. You're better off just picking a maximum or a minimum. But it is something you could do. But I actually, be honest, for me, if I had an ad that was a sales ad that was working great, spending the entire additional $50, because I set my budget 100, I have 5 of them, and they're all getting a minimum of 10. So I have this excess $50. If one of them is profitable, consuming that extra $50, I'm like, have at it, go for it. So that's the other way that campaign budget optimization can be done. And if that one that's spending the entire additional $50 starts to decrease in performance, Facebook will dynamically take that $50 extra on top of the mandatory 10, and it could adjust it and automatically shuffle it over to other ads. And it works most of the time. So it's not a bad system. So there you go, Crystal. Hopefully that was a not overly complicated answer to your question. Amanda says, I'm confused. You said authors should be doing traffic ads, right? Authors should be doing traffic ads if they're sending people to a retailer. So if you're sending people to Amazon or Kobo or Apple or Barnes & Noble or whatever, then you have to be running traffic ads, because you cannot track what happens after the click. And if you're running traffic ads, you should not use campaign budget optimization. Oops. I'm not sharing my screen anymore. I was clicking on things. But yeah, if you're running traffic ads, you should not be running campaign budget optimization. I just had a traffic campaign as my example, but I was like, pretend it's a sales campaign. But if you're wide, I feel like at this point, if you're wide, a Shopify store should be within your 6-month plan. If you don't already have a Shopify store, you should have one. It should be a plan within 6 months to have a Shopify store. By God, by American Thanksgiving, you should have a Shopify store. You know what? By Canadian Thanksgiving, which is in October, you should have a Shopify store. If you're wide, because it's so much easier to actually run ads and track profitability when you're doing that, and to manage upsells and all sorts of things. Now that does mean you have to actually do it properly and spend the time learning how to do a Shopify store properly. So it might be that you don't have the time between now and then to invest in that, and I understand that's okay. But if you do have the time, you really should set up a Shopify store and then be running sales ads. We work with authors who are spending $1,000 a day, making $3,000 a day on their Shopify stores. Not everybody is. There are some people who are just breaking even, and that is the reality of it. But at the same time, they're also still getting the email address of every client, and are able to market to those people, and do direct upsells where they make more money and stuff like that. So even if you're breaking even on your Shopify store, there's a lot of people who will land on your Shopify store and be like, I'm more comfortable buying from Amazon. They go buy from Amazon. So if you're breaking on your Shopify, even on your Shopify store, chances are you're getting additional sales on Amazon. But yes, if you're sending people to a retailer, regardless of who the retailer is, then yes, you should be running traffic ads. But if you're sending the reader to Shopify, or you're doing a reader magnet on BookFunnel, then you should be using a sales or a lead ad, because those sites can communicate back to Facebook when the conversion event happens. I have a Shopify account, but I can't get the BookFunnel to give me an email address, so it can't fulfill the order. I didn't know the BookFunnel needed to give you an email address to fulfill the order. That's it. I'm not sure about the problem you're having, because it should all happen automatically. And BookFunnel, you can reach out to them and they will walk you through the steps. They have really good support. But if you don't want to actually connect Shopify, so when I was talking before about using BookFunnel, that's for like using a reader magnet, because BookFunnel can communicate with Facebook as well. If you're using Shopify to sell books, one of the popular ways of delivering those books to readers is to then have BookFunnel deliver the book to the reader after they buy from Shopify. So that's what Amanda's talking about here. And Monique says, was the transaction tested on BookFunnel? Which I don't know if you have to do that with this one, because when you do the Shopify thing with BookFunnel, you set up an API endpoint, and I don't think there's a test mode in that. The test mode only applies if BookFunnel actually is like, if you're connected with PayPal or something like that, unless there's another scenario I'm not aware of. But products. So there is, let me reshare my screen here. All right, so I'm in Shopify here. There's a Shopify app. Shoot, what's it called? I suddenly forget what it's called. But we'll find out. That lets you deliver the ebook file right from Shopify. It's called Digital File. Right, there it is. So I've got a regular Shopify product, and I've got this app called Digital File. And if I click on that, oh, sorry, it's called Digital Downloads. There we go. So you can install the Digital Downloads app, and then once it's installed with each product you have, you can upload the EPUBs right into Shopify. And I do that just because I want fewer moving parts. I want less things that can break. So if Shopify does the transaction and it sends the product, I think that's the best solution. And one of the things I do is I have this README. They get an email with this information. They actually get 2 emails with the information in this README file, and it's also delivered to them as well. And let me just download it, and I'll show you what the README. Well, I'll probably just read it to you. No, actually, I'll show you guys. I'll share it. Can I zoom this thing? I can zoom this thing. I love how Control Plus or Command Plus just works for everything now. It's so awesome. You just Control Plus everything. Also, Notepad is actually kind of badass now. It used to be terrible, but it's pretty badass. So it says how to read these books. If you'd like to read them on your computer, you can open the files with a browser like Chrome, because Chrome will open EPUBs. Or you can download the free ebook reader Calibre. I have a link to Calibre. If you would like to read them on your Kindle device, visit amazon.com/send to Kindle and drag the files into the browser window or upload them by clicking the button. Amazon also has apps for your phone and computer that listed on the web page. These you can also, oh, I misspelled upload. I'm going to fix that. I didn't realize Notepad spell check now. Can you use upload the book files to your Kindle? Happy reading. So I'll show you guys what the send to Kindle page looks like. Remove. We'll go back here. So this is my whole thing. I'm pimping send to Kindle, and like I said, I'm doing this because it's fewer steps. It's less stuff that can break, less stuff I have to worry about, and they literally have it. So I'm on my Amazon account. You just drag the files right in here. If you're not comfortable, they have like an app that you can actually install on your phone, and you can actually, I think this maybe the Kindle app just supports this natively now. So it looks like you can actually just upload stuff directly into Kindle by using the share icon inside Kindle. That's even easier. Although I feel like some people might get confused by that. So I like the whole idea of like, go to this web page, drag the file in. But Amazon also does say like how to do it. And can you do it from Word? How do you get this option, send to Kindle? That's kind of wild. I'm going to look into this more because I don't have send to Kindle as an option in Word. Oh, you have to use export. I don't know if I've ever chosen export in Word. Okay, I'm doing this right now. I'm testing this right now. Oh my God. How is this even here? Let me share my screen to show you guys. I mean, this may not be something you ever want to tell readers to do, but I could see this as being kind of, oops, that's not what I want to do. I could see it be kind of a cool thing for us to do, to check stuff out. Share screen, window. I'll choose this book. Yeah, so I'm in a Word document here. I hit File, and then I choose Export, and there it is, send to Kindle. I don't remember ever installing anything that would do that. Maybe it's just built into Word now. That's actually pretty freaking cool. And I think Word can open EPUBs. Yeah, it can. So they can open an EPUB with a Word and just choose to do that. So anyway, long story short, there's a lot of ways to get a book on a Kindle now that don't require a book funnel. Let's see. Linda says, "You're welcome, Amanda." Linda says, "I'm nowhere near doing this, but would you use a sales ad to advertise to Ream to gain paid members? Only if Ream can use a Facebook pixel. I don't think Ream supports the Facebook pixel yet. Ream, my fingers are on the wrong keys. Ream Facebook pixel. Maybe they do support it. Let's find out. I can't even get response stuff about Ream. I'd have to reach out to the makers of Ream to see if they support the Facebook pixel. If they did, it could work. I think Patreon supports the Facebook pixel, so that could work. But yeah, the wherever you're sending people to, you need to be able to get the Facebook pixel installed there. And the Facebook pixel is really just an identifier for two-way communication between the websites. So the website like Shopify knows what Facebook account to send the data back to. That's really what the pixel works as. So yeah, it is entirely possible. Okay, I do need to wrap now though. I love that little segue at the end. I love being able to help people and stuff like that. So in the future, anyone got questions like that, feel free to bring them. I am more than happy to help. We work with a lot of authors doing a lot of things, so there's a decent chance that we've hit a problem if you're hitting it, and can at least point you in the right direction to help you out. But we are leaving for the pool in like 40 minutes, and I don't know where my swimsuit is, so I have to go find that. But I hope you guys have a fabulous day. Do you know of a step-by-step guide for how to set up? So if you want to set up with BookFunnel, just Google BookFunnel and Shopify, and the first result will be sell on Shopify and we'll deliver. And BookFunnel has a step-by-step guide on how to set up with them. If you don't want to do that, then you just add in the digital downloads app on Shopify, and then in the more actions on the product page up on the top, you'll get a drop down for digital downloads. You can also drop me an email afterwards if you need clarification on any of those points. Hopefully that will get you rolling. Or maybe message me in Messenger, Amanda. I'm pretty sure we're friends on Facebook because we're going on vacation next week. / it's the holiday weekend, so I might not see all my emails until later. So drop me a message in Messenger if you need a hand. Okay, I'm going to jet. It's called delivery action. Oh, sorry, Monique was talking about using the API. I have to test mine. I use Shopify. Okay, I've done them before and I never tested them, Monique. So maybe I just skipped that step or something. But I will talk to you guys not next week, because next week we are on vacation. So I will not be back with Lunch with Mal until the 25th. So maybe I'll pop on sometime in the meantime. But I mean, I always say maybe I'll be around during vacation. I won't be around. I'll be hiking and hanging out around waterfalls and playing board games with the family and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm just going to call it right now. There will be no Lunch with Mal's until the 25th. But we are doing some cool things between now and the end of the year. There's going to be a class. We're having a class at the end of July, and Jill's been sending out some emails about it. It's posted about in our Facebook group, the Writing Wise Facebook group. And that class is going to be about some of the new changes to ad formats, the flexible ad format, and some other changes in Facebook, where I walk through some specific tactics on how to deal with things. And then at the end of September, we're doing our advanced Facebook ads class again, which is a 6-week minimum program. It's going to go to 8, just call it right now, where we walk through basically all, assuming you know how to do Facebook ads, we take it from there and just kind of be like, okay, let's scale ads. Let's build different types of ads. Let's investigate how to build ads doing different things, retargeting ads, awareness ads, landing page ads to validate readers, like all sorts, to give you like a full quiver of arrows for all the different kinds of ways you might need to tackle ads in the future. And so that starts at the end of August, and that'll be a 6+ week program. I believe it's $700 right now, and it is the best way to get like 15 hours of instruction and Q&A from me beamed directly into your brain about some pretty advanced topics where we get to go over your specific scenarios and your specific ads and stuff like that too. So it is good stuff. All right, I will see you guys later. Have yourselves a fantastic holiday if you're holidaying this weekend, and have a fantastic couple of weeks. We'll see you later this month. Bye.